Well, someone who's familiar with the report is Gauri van Gulik. She's Deputy Director at Amnesty International, joining us live from London. Gauri, many thanks for joining us today. Now, we did get a sense of the story from that package that we were just playing, but I want to hear your take on it. Give us some examples of the racism that these refugees are experiencing.
Well, the report that Amnesty International launched today looks at the kind of crimes that are committed because of the background of the person, of the victim. And what it looks at especially is how the police is dealing with them, right? It's not just looking at the events that are happening, but really looks into why is it so hard to get convictions? Why is the police unable in some cases to document this kind of motive? What are some of the problems we see? And just to make it concrete, I mean, it's cases like a Turkish man who was attacked terribly in a police station, at a train station. It was clearly racistly motivated, and it was so obvious in many ways, and yet the police didn't investigate that side of it and didn't document, for example, through witness statements, the kind of slurs that were shouted at the man while he was being attacked. Now, it's just one example, but the other big issue, of course, is the massive amount of attacks against asylum shelters, so where asylum seekers are housed currently. That is a significant problem, and while we recognize that, of course, Germany is doing a lot, and of course, a lot of people have entered the country new last year, it is still absolutely possible to do more to protect asylum seekers, to do it in a more coordinated way, and to make sure that we prevent these attacks and don't just talk about prosecution afterwards.
Well, the report calls for an investigation into institutional biases within Germany's law enforcement agencies. What are these biases?
Well, exactly. What we're asking for is a deep, hard look at some of the underlying reasons for lack of investigations sometimes. I mean, we have been able to document at least some cases where it is suspicious that the police simply didn't look at it, wasn't interested in it. And to be very clear, institutional racism doesn't mean that police is racist. What it means is that those groups, so people with minorities, for example, people with a different race than German, are not treated fundamentally fairly within the system. And what are some of the reasons for that? Now, it can be as simple as in a small town, the police knows the perpetrators and thinks, well, they can't be racist, so this is not an issue I should investigate. Or, there are many ways in which this can manifest itself. But we know for a fact that even after the very famous NSU murders in Germany, where 10 people were killed, including 8 from Turkish background, and a lot of failings of the police in those cases. People interviewed and questioned family members, really assumed it was within the community, but didn't actually look at extreme right-wing activism there. And we know that since then, even though the government has learned a lot of lessons and has tried to adopt things in different ways, and they have more guidelines now and a better understanding of how to deal with this, still we've documented cases where the police absolutely should have investigated and they haven't. So we need to see a proper inquiry into what is the case here. Are there problems around how certain groups are treated in general? Is everybody getting their fair chance at a hearing? And is the police doing all it can to prevent and to prosecute afterwards hate crimes against certain groups?
Okay, Gauri, many thanks for your time today. Gauri van Gulik from Amnesty International speaking to us there from London.